everywhere. You know, throw one match in my direction and we'll all go up. But anyways, let's fire this thing up. Welcome back to Ratty Muscle of Alaska. I made my first bad decision of the year. I made it like 15 days in. I bought a Dodge. No, somebody thinks they had a Dodge, but this is actually a International. You wouldn't tell it because nothing says International on it anymore. Hood emblem's gone. You can see she's got the radical house painted with a hand brush paint job. So, you know, fire engine red, but that's neat. Got all the lights on top. Major selling point right there. Little body damage there, but you know, we just don't even worry about that in these parts. She's of the 4x4 variety, a 1200. That mirror's facing the wrong way so you can see it in front of you, because that's always important. It comes with foliage with berries on it, so it's a health vehicle. Bungee cord door lock. Bungee corded mirror. Greasy interior with some vintage 1980s clothes. So we're just gonna ignore that. Utility bed, because, well, I have a thing for utility beds. But all the further is we get to take a tour of the utility bed. Filing cabinet. See, we got some plug-ins that are right frozen. Can't even use that one. One piece of a 3-jaw puller. Some wire nuts and a blade fuse. Part of a brake flaring tool. Some vintage shag carpet. A machine screw in the back. This door is just gone, but you know, it's in the back, so get this guy out of the way. She still has the covers on top. Closing back doors. The missing doors right there, as well as a fender, I was told, and a bunch of other junk. It's a genuine utility body. We've got this box here so you can stash long things. Oh, the vintage Woody the Woodpecker mud flaps. Let's see if I can get a good angle of those. Well, you get the idea. Woody the Woodpecker's on them. This one's not even rusted out. And it's got a big gash in the bottom. It seems like all of these have that. Got some genuine Warren winch parts. A milk crate with a brand new Napa fuel filter in it. I'm sure that's still good. I'm definitely going to use it, so I'll just tell you it's still good. Brand new air filter. Some clear hose. Vent. Some large bolts. Antique cardboard. It's got this sticker on it, so I guess it was a rental truck maybe. But I don't know what rental company would rent out a service truck. There's a piece of wood on top that fortunately didn't fall off when we were driving. This door doesn't close, but that's all right. Came with a set of vice grips, of course, the essentials. She's got the power lock rear end. Genuine, I'm sure, sheepskin seat cover. A seat base that isn't even attached. It's an actual deluxe model with a padded dash pad. I don't know how they got a deluxe without a radio, but what's cool is on the radio delete, they put all their toggle switches. I thought that was pretty neat. You can see the interior. It used to be this kind of green. The clutch actually seems to do things, so that's good. They swapped out some of the gauges with Stewart Warners. Well, one of them's a Stewart Warner at least. That makes them all the Stewart Warner. We've got a lot of old paperwork down on the ground, all from the 80s. And there's a brand new tag here from 1990. So I'm going to say she's been parked that long. Sassy old Midland radio, of course, because, well, what's an old truck without a CB radio? And then broken battery blanket. Nice blanket to keep you warm at night. I'll totally use that. One headlight bezel, the missing headlight. Some chrome trim rings, dome light cover. Toilet paper, that was a hot commodity a couple years ago. She's got the 4-speed, and I do believe it should be the single-speed transfer case. And I'll get the hood up and we'll have a look under there. As some of you astute observers might be able to tell, it used to have a plow mount, and the plow mount was on it in the Craigslist ad photos. And between then and now, the gentleman totally fondangled the plow, or the plow mount. It never had a plow. So I don't know how to feel about that, but he left me a big chisel, so, you know. And under here we have what should be a 304 V8, if it's still original, that is. Nice Holley 2100, dual brake, or dual reservoir brakes. So it's not the single pot, which is good. Next to that's your clutch slave cylinder. This bad boy here is a hydraulic pump that would have helped run the plow. Your oil fill, your standard, you know, dual coil setup. You really want that on these trucks. The seller said that the points went out on this thing, and that's why they parked it. Believe that if you will. But I did grab on to the fan before I bought it. She does spin, so she's definitely a runner. Oh, not a drop of coolant in there. That's fine.
I like the premium belt setup there.
Oh yeah, just falling right out of the pulley groove. That's fine, I'm sure.
You don't need to worry about that.
It probably got chock full of ice and just kicked the belt out. She has any oil in her? Oh yeah, right past the full line. That's good. Only smells a little bit like gas.
I guess that just means it's good.
Yeah, basically. You just don't look at that anymore.
Yeah.
Got your air filter spacer, your spring shoved in your choke. We're gonna pretend that there's, you know, nothing went down the carburetor because it totally didn't eat a lot of snow. Yeah. The lock cylinder for the ignition's on the floor, but fortunately I actually have a nice old one, so we're gonna go ahead and throw that in. We'll throw a battery in here. There's the battery tray. I was curious. Oh, she was even winterized. I'd trust that plug.
I mean, you've seen the...
Oh, it's for the battery blanket. It doesn't even go anywhere.
Okay. Just wondering about all them cords hanging down there.
Oh, yeah, and I noticed something here a few minutes ago. Under this vintage clothing, on the floor of the truck, there's lifters and push rods.
Oh, look at that.
So, I'm sure that's fine. There's not a reason for that. There couldn't be. Assuming all the registration's on the floor, I don't think there's much in the glove box. Some glass fuses. That looks to be about it. CB radio mount. All the fuses are still in there. That's surprising. Gas cap on the dash. She's even got a gun rack.
Brian, did you win a genuine 8mm Craftsman?
Did I?
Oh, it's a 9mm.
Oh, a 9?
That's like, you know, that's a...
Oh, genuine craftsmanship. Yeah, this guy left all kinds of tools all over this thing. Oh, it's got blue valve covers. It's been rebuilt. Very good. It's the starter's even down there. Sweet. I keep getting these things and they keep having bum starters in them. Heater hoses are good, I'm sure. What else? Oh yeah, the line's cut right off the fuel pump. We'll have to get her set up with the gravity feed.
Is that what I think it is, off a snow machine?
That's a garage door roller.
Oh fuck, I'm stupid.
It might be off a snow machine, I don't know. I've only seen things like that as... What's this bungee cord doing? Oh, that's the battery hold down. Nice! Came with the classy farmer hold down. Very good. Hood insulation's still there. That looks good. Very nice.
Definitely won't light on fire.
And you don't even need to worry about it burning down.
No.
Not like it's oil soaked or anything.
Fire engine red. Those things don't happen.
Yeah. Fire engines don't catch on fire. They couldn't. Their job is to stop that.
Yeah. It's common knowledge, right?
I think that's common knowledge. What in the world? Is this like conveyor belt material for the battery tray?
You know?
That's kind of what it looks like.
Yeah.
What in the world is this? What is, oh, there, it is winterized. It's only missing one plug. You just solder a new one on. That's fine. Some guy told me to plug in the Kenworth. Maybe we should plug this thing in.
Well, there's... where's the most powerful? There's a small spruce over there.
Small spruce.
You know, I don't think these willows will do the job.
Nah, I think we could tap some good power out of that spruce. We could tee them together.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the aftermarket water temperature gauge is there. Nice. Well, I guess I'll go find my a battery and my old ignition switch that I got laying around, and we'll see if she does the thing. Just taking a little extended gander under the hood here. Of course, we had our custom dual coil setup. And then this plug wire has a plug on here, but all the spark plugs are still in the engine. So I'd say the story checks out. She just lost spark, and they parked it. I think all the plugs are on the other side. Not like I looked. Oh yeah, they're all there.
Appears so.
Nice.
The boots are kind of on there.
Must have just lost spark in the early 90s and they parked it. That's fine. She'll run. Some crafty wiring. Is that an extension cord?
Probably. I would put it past it.
There it is. Yeah, that's an extension cord. Wonder if it had like a cab heater or something.
That, or a lot of guys like to use it to run the plow switches.
PEX tubing? Yeah, the plow switch like cables are still under the dash there.
Oh, okay.
Must be that. Oh. All right, let's go find my ignition switch and a battery. Well, I got a battery, but I didn't grab my ignition switch because, well, I'm too lazy for that right now. But we're just gonna hook this thing up and see if all the lights on the top work, because essentials. Let's get this screwed up battery terminal on here. Oh, nice. Keep this one around. There we go. Now what you're not going to want to do is take time to see if like it catches on fire. You just start playing with electrical things. Something lit up. That light on the dash lights up. Is there illumination?
There was a turn signal for a moment.
That switch is messed up. We'll just work it back and forth until it does things. Is there anything in the back? Oh, we got lights in the back. Oh, 3 out of 4 in the back.
It like works in one position. Yeah.
Oh, tell you what, this is like a 1965. Your front running lights only work when the running lights are on. Your running lights turn off when the headlights are on. The 67's that way. That took me too long to figure out. Like the horn relay clicks. Are we getting any cool lights on top? Oh yeah. Solid investment. This was a solid investment, folks. That's funny, that one like works intermittently. Your typical like international worn out transmission shifter, of course.
T18?
I don't even know. It's, yeah.
Kind of looks like it.
Pull forward a frost. I don't know what that does. I wonder if the wires in the back here are messed up. Because like all these toggles should do things, but
Like the fact that these are a lot of them look like self-grounding lights, and well, the ground's probably not grounding very good.
maybe. We'll have to mess with that because all the lights working is an essential thing. The horn relay clicks. The wipers don't seem to want to work. Well, they might only work when the key's on, and there's no key.
Oh, shit. Not one.
Well, if I just mess with these switches, they... Ah, sweet. All the lights will work. You just have to play with the switches until they start working. Those must be the other switches that don't light up right now. Nice. What? Yeah. Well, the CB lights up. And the top there lights up on the CB. But it's not making noise. Blower motor doesn't seem to work. Neither does the front axle engaged light. Well, maybe if you push it. Nope. The front axle light doesn't work. Well, shoot. Alrighty, anyhow. I'll go get my ignition switch and we'll figure out this wiring down there. See if we can't make things happen. Just doing a little further investigating here. There's 16 lifters, which isn't a good sign because, well, they all came out of a V8, and one of them decided not to lift anymore. And these look identical to IH lifters, so she might have ate up a cam, but if it still runs, that's good enough for me. And it's got the sweet little chain in here. And a blown up flare. More towels. Those are my gloves. I should keep those separate. Nice thing. Nope, that flare's blown up too. Wonder what this plug goes to. Oh, nothing. It's just an extension cord. I don't think there's anything really behind the seats. Neato. Alrighty, folks. Welcome back. It's a fresh day. I got this baby wheeled on down to where the tools are. I'd put it in there, but some doofus has a Scout in there. Wonder who that could be. So, nothing much has changed about the truck, except I just now stuck this, the missing door back on here. It's temporary because that hinge is messed up, but it does look much better without a hole in the bed. So yeah, I'm going to throw my ignition switch that I keep talking about in there and see if we can't make some things work. Alrighty. Here's the magical ignition switch of mine. Of course, I snagged this thing out of a junkyard last summer because it's got the original IH key in it. And if we turn that guy on, we hear something click. Of course, looks like we have backlights in the gauges. That's a vent. Do we have turn signals? Looks like we have turn signals. So I did something right. I know these international switches usually have a few extra plug-ins on them, but this big major plug is the important one. So let's see if it cranks over. Well, it spins over. I don't know what that funny clicky-clacky noise is, but, well, we'll find out the fun way when we start it. Alrighty, so I'm taking a minute to actually kind of deduce things and, you know, think about them. When I got the truck yesterday, of course, I was just enjoying it and having a look around, trying to get familiar with it. So now that we're looking it over, of course, we have this coil that was just sitting here. And then we have this coil, which was like half hooked up. I went ahead, since I just got the key all set up, I turned the key on, came out here. I see the ballast resistor. Ballast resistors always go bad. It's got power here, power coming out the other side, so the ballast resistor is still good. And then I touch this guy, which is falling apart, to here, and I get voltage through this. So the coil's probably not stone cold dead. And then, of course, your system goes on to the distributor, the points, I'll take the cap off here, probably run some sandpaper through the points, and see if we can't make them come back to life. And then hook up the coil wire and see if the coil does the things and figure out what all's doing what. Alrighty, went ahead and took the distributor cap off, obviously. I found the bolt and put this coil bracket back on so it's out of the way. Looking in here, it looks pretty decent, pretty clean. But one thing I see for sure is the, oh, well, you can't see because you're just looking at a radiator hose. But we could see that the cam lobe is in the middle there, and the points are open. So that's probably an issue there, so I'll go ahead and probably close that gap up. I assume the rubbing block, the plastic piece here on the points, is completely worn out, and they kept trying to adjust them and try and make the truck run good. And I'll tell you right now, I learned the difficult way that when the rubbing block is worn out on your 304 points, the only way to fix it is to replace the points, of course. You really can't come back from that, so. And it is a pretty solid fix. I mean, points are meant to be replaced, duh. So yeah, I'll see if I can't get those adjusted to where they open and close, and maybe see if we can't get spark to this thing. Alrighty, got the points set a little better. I couldn't find my feeler gauges, so I just, I just guessed. And then I stuck the sandpaper in here. We're just gonna work it back and forth a little bit. Good enough. And then I'm gonna go ahead, turn the key on, and we'll open the points with a screwdriver and see if they do the spark. Well, just sitting here with the key on, trying to flick the points and make them contact, and I think the ballast resistor has said enough. Okay. So since the ballast resistor appears to be cooked, I just went ahead and ran a jumper wire from the positive lead to the coil there. And now, if we wiggle the engine, you can see our points are snapping, which means that the coil should then be sending spark to the spark plugs. So, I'll get all this put back together. Of course, I should remember to put the rotor in, because I always seem to forget that. And then maybe we'll see if this thing will bark off. Well, before I wanted to try and start this thing, I wanted to make sure it wasn't going to pump a lot of, crummy old gas in there. But the mechanical pump has had the lines cut off of it. And this thing has an electric pump. Conveniently right there, it looks like we've got some sick dopey-dope custom fuel switching valve. That looks like one out of an old Ford. I don't even know why that line's looped back into it, but, whatever. And then we've got a sassy old AC electric pump, it looks like, so I won't have to worry about it pumping bad gas in there. I can just bottle feed it for a little while. Oh, and before I forget, would you just look at these sassy bias plies on this thing? Like, they're not even all that weather checked even. Look at that. It's even got some remnants from the rad paint job on this thing, broad brush strokes and whatnot. Alrighty, after some crafty solutions and some finagling, I've finally got all set up. I've got my loser switch here. So we can crank this thing from under the hood, of course the jumper wire on the coil, and then I got my gas here. We're going to go ahead and use this here spark plug that somebody already rigged up to check for spark to see if we have spark, and then we'll throw some gas at this thing and see if it'll fire off. Funny enough, there's ice in between the strap and the electrode on this spark plug. So, well, I just put the plug on and we're just going to see if it'll start because I'm too lazy for all this nonsense. So we'll just give her a good dose right on the choke plate there, and well, we'll see. Well, there you have it. It's definitely trying. I'm going to have to jam the choke open. Somebody broke their chintzy choke conversion setup, whatever, off of this thing. Alrighty. Got that screwdriver there holding the choke open, and well, let's see if this thing will fire off. Oh, I left the ignition hooked up. That's great. Just spill gas everywhere. It's fine. try and get some here in the float bowl. Even though it's all going to dump out the accelerator pump. Alrighty, we got the booster hooked up and we got the ignition turned on. We're ready to try it again. Well, that was easy. Alright then. Guess we'll put a little more in the float bowl and see if we can't do that again. Sounded half decent for that, like, half a second. Holy cow. I'm gonna go see if it's got oil pressure yet. Oh yeah, the oil pressure gauge was already up to 20, so this thing's mint. Let's see if we can't keep it running for a moment here. Just douse it in gas until it's flooded. Oh yeah, it's getting there. I'll take that for a revival. Not too shabby. Well, we got her to fire off and run for a minute, and she sounds pretty decent, so now we just have to see about trying to make it run for longer. But I think I've got a solution to all the troubles with this rig. Silly International, electrical issues are for Dodges. Well, now that we've gone ahead and made the old girl fire off and fixed the electrical issues via the Dodge emblem, you know, I think it's time we started getting rid of this garbage. I'm going to just start throwing crap out here on the ground. If I find anything cool, I'll let you guys know. Oh, I did find this machete under the seat last night, though, so that's awesome. Alrighty, well, scrounging through the interior, I rounded up all the old registration paperworks, and the newest one was 2003, so probably about 20 years this thing's been sitting, so that's pretty decent. And it actually kind of runs like a top, so... Oh, and the other thing, the guy sold it to me, said it was a 65. The registration says it's a 67. This old Napa box says 1967, so I would assume it's a 67, not a 65. I'm not fancy, and without a grill in the thing, I can't tell what year it is, so at least now I know. Well, I threw out that floor mat, not really realizing that it was sort of structural, but there's still this steel plate in here, so that's good. You don't need to worry about the rust. Also, I hope nobody was really attached to the old sheepskin seat cover, because that's going away. Otherwise, I didn't really find much else except for the little plate here that's got the shift pattern on it, in case I needed that. So that's pretty neat that it's still around, though. Still got a couple things to throw out over there, and then I just gotta bag all this garbage up and get rid of it. So I think part of the reason why this door isn't latching is because it won't go all the way closed. That's probably because somebody left it open, and there's all kinds of ice down there, so the hinge runs into it. So what we're gonna do is apply some gentle heat. Well, that's not gentle enough. See, what I'm doing is making the seal there a little more pliable. Now let's see if this thing will close. Oh, look at that. All you had to do was apply some heat. There we go. Good as new. Just singed up the old door seal a little more than it was, but it's a 50-year-old door seal, so I don't think it was much good anyways, so I'm not really worried about it. It doesn't close on the second latch, but it does the first one, and, you know, good enough for me. Well, I hopped up here and shoveled off the top of the bed and the roof, and I got not one, but two parking brakes. What looks like to be the leg of an engine hoist, and this wood handle thing with some brass on it, so that's weird. Well, now that I got the roof mostly cleaned off, I can have a look at that rad beacon light there. That thing is giant. And these two spotlights, if I can zoom in right, I don't really feel like crawling up there. Those are actually International Harvester spotlights, or work lights, whatever you want to call them. Those two chrome outer lights. You can kind of see the remnants of the IH logo on there, which is really neat because I've actually been looking for a set of lights just like that forever. So now I have a set. And the other cool thing I found is right there on top of the bed. I think that's a magnet. Unfortunately, of course, it's iced in and I can't get it off, but as soon as I can get that thing off, you can bet that that's going on my toolbox. Got some other goodies here. Replacement fender for the passenger side that's actually in pretty good shape. A little dented there, but you know, way she goes. I may or may not actually put that on the truck, I don't know. And then this steel plate, beats me what that goes to, a skid plate or something. I got 3 new hoses, I think they're all the same part numbers. This thing, of course, Power Wagon logo I took off. Some sandpaper, that's handy. Gasket thing. Oof, that's like a rasp. That's stuck to the bottom. And this keyway, I'm not quite sure what that is, but it goes to something and it does a thing maybe. So I'm gonna throw that in the beds, boxes on the side, and then yeah, I found out the top of course slides and latches in here. So that's pretty neat. And then these two outer doors fold shut and they latch on here. So given that the bed's actually in pretty nice condition, that kind of changes my plans for this truck just the littlest bit. So I want to make this into my yard truck here to use around the property, make it a big asset. Of course, all the toolboxes, I can keep tools, I can keep parts, I can keep all kinds of things in here, chains, binders, tow straps. And then the other thing I want around the yard for moving vehicles and picking engines and whatnot would be gin poles. Set of poles off the back of a truck to use to move heavy things around. And my original plan was I wanted them to fold into the bed and sort of run diagonal. But with the top and the back doors on this bed, and the fact that they're actually pretty nice, I don't want to ruin that. So I think what I'm going to do is have the gin poles mounted up here. I might go through the bed with my brackets and my supports for them and whatnot, and then probably have like a headache rack deal back up there by the beacon that the poles can fold down onto them, and then run a winch through the bed or something. But that's all future stuff. I'll probably end up doing that in the summer maybe, but yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm pretty jazzed that that fender's in pretty nice shape, and I went through and threw some junk out of the boxes. Of course, I'm a car guy, so kind of a hoarder, but you know, way she goes. Another funny thing about this thing is this tire obviously doesn't match the rest of those bias ply traction tires, but this one's a one-piece rim. And these Internationals of this era have 6-lug wheels. They're a big 6 pattern, and that's pretty like rare. You don't see them a lot, and you can't really find a lot of them. And of course, at this point in time, most of the wheels and tires, or most of the wheels that they made at this time, were split ring rims. Not split rims, not split in the middle, but split rings, a ring on the outer edge. And this one-piece wheel is pretty desirable by the International guys. Of course, they all want to find a match set of 4, and I think they only use these as spare tires mostly at the time. But yeah, pretty neat. I just happen to have one on this truck. We can get a gander in here of how the bed's mounted. So I definitely don't think the bed was originally put on the truck. As you can see in the back of the bed, it's a dark green. And of course the truck is more of that light blue color, sort of teal, I'd say. So I think the bed was definitely kind of retrofitted onto the truck. They didn't do a half bad job. They used heavy metal. I mean, that's like ½ inch or some nonsense, heavy basically. And yeah, the bed's mounted good, so that works for me. Of course, wanting to put poles off of it. So yeah, pretty neat. And it runs. I'm going to see if I can't gravity feed some gas down to the carburetor and make it run for longer. Actually kind of sit here and idle for a minute. So yeah. As with most old trucks of this age, and almost every old truck I've ever had to deal with around here, all this one's proven to need is just a little bit of time, a little bit of TLC, and some of the water displacement juice. This bar was custom made by somebody to be used as a latch, but the old latches still seem to work. So this thing's probably going to get cut off because that's pretty stupid. But yeah, that's pretty nice. Seals right up. Top still slides and everything. I mean, of course, it was all packed with snow and ice, but like that's kind of a given around here in the Alaska. But yeah, this thing's shaping up pretty nice. Alrighty, given that I follow the natural order of things after getting this thing running, I just shoveled off the roof and then went around to every moving thing on the truck, the pintle hitch, every single door latch here, and I just hosed everything down in the WD-40 so that they all move good and they all latch good. I even hit the door handles and the door latching mechanism, all that nonsense, because, you know, believe it or not, this paint's not really in the best shape, so I don't care if it gets some WD-40 on it. And then I scrounged up this fuel hose. Fortunately, the truck actually came with a huge, funky slip tank or auxiliary tank, and the guy had a lot of hose on it. So what I'm going to try and do is run the hose to a gas can on the roof and gravity feed the carburetor. But I either need to get a toggle switch to run my ignition, or I need to make the throttle not just cruise control at full throttle, because that wouldn't be very cool. So yeah, sort of essentials and whatnot here. I think what I'm going to do is run a toggle switch into the cab so that I can just have control of it right there in the cab. Welcome to the roof of the truck. Here you can see these Unity work lights with the IH logo. Of course, there'd be the red in the middle, but I think that was just painted on and that's why it's worn off, but that's really neat right there. And we got our fuel cell properly attached. It might spill a little bit of fuel down on the windshield, but you know, it's just like de-icer, right? So yeah, sweet old beacon. I gotta run my hose up here into the gas can and probably like tape it off so it doesn't spill, but yeah. Well, I got the gravity all set, gravity feed, duh. I got the gravity feed all set up for this thing, so I think we're about ready to see if it'll work. I got the accelerator pump to shoot fuel. It's definitely leaking though. So yeah, we'll hook up the ignition, see if it'll start from the cab, and then, well, hopefully hear it run. That's a no. I'm gonna have to turn the jumper on. We'll give the jump box a moment to work, and then we'll try her again. Oh yeah, you can see that thing's just spewing fuel. That's fine, I'm sure. Oh, it's just consistent. I should shove a rag under there, probably. Well, now that I fixed the accelerator pump leak, let's see if she'll start. I'm gonna pretend I don't hear that lifter ticking. Still got decent oil pressure. Just sitting here letting it run for a minute. It's like 0 degrees out, so I don't think it's gonna overheat anytime soon. It might not be charging. Heck, let's see if we have a clutch here. Oh, the clutch appears to work. We've got ourselves a runner here, folks. I don't think that works. Oh, the clutch might have appeared to work because the transfer case might have been in neutral. No, definitely works. I think. Well, thinking's as good as knowing. She's fine, I'm sure it'll drive. Timing might be a little off. The oil pressure gets right excited though. Man, this thing's a unit. What a quality buy. Well, now the beacon's not working. What in the world? Well, I just let this thing run for probably about another minute after I shut the camera off, and well, let's see how she fires back up. Oh man, that's a real geyser coming out of there. Definitely gonna have to get a new accelerator pump and probably some kind of switch system for the ignition. Well, I'm getting ready to head into town, pick up a new accelerator pump and probably a toggle switch for the ignition here. I can just wire that up and throw it under the dash so I have something to shut the vehicle off from inside because, well, I don't have brakes yet. So, yeah, another thing I wanted to check on was to see if there was actually any coolant in the radiator. It looks like there is. So that's good. That means it probably just bled down a little bit and is just below the fins here, or below the top rad tank rather. So that's good. I can probably top it off with some coolant and the radiator will be good. I'll feel a little more confident to run it. I need to replace that section of fuel hose because it's hard as a rock and this hose clamp's boned. And then accelerator pump, throttle return spring, and I think we'll be driving. We'll be ready to go get this thing stuck in a snowbank. Alrighty, folks. I'm back. Made a trip to town. Got myself a sandwich. I also picked up a toggle switch for ignition and a accelerator pump for the old Holly here. I think I'm gonna take the carburetor off and then swap out the accelerator pump instead of just taking the fuel bowl off. So yeah, I'm gonna get that accelerator pump swapped out. If you haven't done it before, you just take the base bolts off and then any miscellaneous garbage that's in the way, and then you just 4 screws, you pop it out, you put the new one in, and you should be good to go. And as I'm standing here watching that drip, I realize I probably should have pulled the hose out of the gas can that's on the roof, because that's a lot of fuel that got spilled. But, oh well, I guess, live and learn. So, yeah, we're going to go ahead, get that done. And then I was just brain thinking it, and I was like, well, instead of running a toggle switch for the ignition, why don't I just take the hot lead off the ballast resistor and put it on the coil and just ignore the fact that there was ever a ballast resistor and pretend it never existed in the first place. So that's what I'm gonna do. Well, just flip the carburetor up and pulled the accelerator pump off. You can see this thing is huge and this one is not. So that tells me that that's more than likely a 500 CFM Holly carburetor, which is not really good because those run like absolute garbage on these engines. I tell you that as a fact because I have another one that has a 500 CFM. It had it on it when I got it, and that truck runs like garbage. The 500 CFM carburetor basically is just too much carburetor for these engines, and yeah, I'm saying it. I think it's true. There is such thing as too much carburetor. So, as a temporary solution, since this thing is brittle, you can hear it cracking. That's how bad this thing is. I've got a accelerator pump housing for the smaller one. This is a 30cc accelerator pump. That's a 50cc accelerator pump. So I've got the smaller housing, and I know because I did it on my other one, I can put the smaller accelerator pump housing on that carburetor and it will work. Temporarily, but it will work. So I'm going to go ahead and do that just to get this thing romping around the yard and having a good time. So yeah, that is not cool. Okie dokie. Got the choke held wide open. I obviously got the accelerator pump back on and everything. And we should be ready to try it again. Oh, and that guy's on there on the coil. So in theory, the key will do the power thing, and it should start. Alrighty, I think we're ready to try it. I'll tell you what, the spacing of the pedals is really weird with these big boots. Can't quite get in between the gas pedal and the brake pedal. Yeah, that's what I feared was going to happen. I'm going to have to find a throttle return spring because that might be an issue. So I'll find a spring for that so it doesn't just rally to the moon again. Alrighty, my fault for forgetting that I needed a spring, but let's try that again without the cold start red line. theoretically, since it popped off, it should fire right up now. Yeah, there we go. And this thing runs pretty decent. Oh, when it's running. Bet you I lost fuel. Gonna have to siphon some down from the fuel cell. Oh yeah, accelerator pump's not pumping, so I'm gonna have to go up there, put some air pressure in the fuel cell to push fuel down to the carburator. Well, I was just sitting here playing with switches. Haven't gotten it to start yet again, but you might want to cover your ears. Heater works, so that's cool. I don't ever want to hear that again, though. Well, I had this thing running off a bottle for a second. Sounds great, so I definitely think it just lost the prime from the fuel can up there. So I'm going to take this fuel line off here. I'm going to replace this one because it's hard as a rock. And then I'll have to siphon some down here to fill the carburetor and make everything work again. Alrighty, I think I got that taken care of. Let's see if we can hear fuel in the accelerator pump. Oh yeah, I hear it. I'm going to jam that choke open. And let me tell you, siphoning that fuel down here and then getting that hose on was a huge pain. As you might be able to tell by all the gas everywhere. You know, throw one match in my direction and we'll all go up. But anyways, let's fire this thing up. Oh yeah, we got the old John Deere battery charger jumping the old International. Well, a moment of truth, let's see if she moves. Definitely trying. Maybe we'll try that. That should be too high. I wonder if there's ice in the transmission or something. Must be that, because yeah, it's definitely trying. I can feel the transmission kind of torquing to the side, but no movement. But it runs nice. So that's a bonus. Yeah, I don't think it has anything to do with the transfer case, really. Yeah, I don't think she's driving today. I wonder if I'm gonna have to drain the fluid out of the transmission and find out how much ice is in there. That's not really cool, but she's definitely trying. I wonder if put the transfer case in neutral, maybe. That's 4 high. I think that's neutral. the transmission seems fine, the transfer case is the issue. Interesting. I'll have to investigate. Alrighty, folks. Unfortunately, our adventure for this week is gonna have to come to an end. I've clean run out of weekend to work on the truck, and unfortunately we're not driving. So, my apologies, but as I'm sure you can see, well, there's something wrong with the transfer case, and we're just gonna have to figure that out later. So, yeah. So with that said, unfortunately, that video is just going to have to be a two-parter for you guys to see it drive, but you will be seeing more of that truck, I promise. I really like it. It's really shaping up nice, and like I already said, I want to make it into my little yard truck, so you're going to see more of it. So yeah, with that said, hopefully you guys enjoyed our little misadventure here, and if you did, if you could like and maybe subscribe or leave a comment or something, that'd be hugely appreciated. Not only does your guys' support help the channel grow, but it is hugely motivational for me to haul my butt out in the cold every week and make a new video for you guys. So yeah, another thing I wanted to say is a huge shout out and a thank you to my friend Nick, who was in the beginning of the video with me. He actually towed that international home for me, which I would appreciate regardless, but I appreciate it even more with the snow and the ice on the road and everything. So that was super nice of him, and yeah. So with all that said, anyhow, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and until next time, I'll see ya.